I'm a firm believer that everybody has an origin story. Mine just happens to be quite unique. My story really started in a small hospital in Bangalore, Karnataka, India. My mom had gotten into preterm labor, and while the doctors were expecting a premature infant, they certainly weren't expecting an infant with all of my conditions. And they were certainly not prepared with a pediatric surgical team to handle my case. And so immediately after birth, I was taken by an auto rickshaw, which is essentially a taxi with no doors, to St. John's Hospital, which at the time was the only specialty hospital with a pediatric surgical team. And OEIS being such a rare condition, I was probably one of the very few babies born in that city, or maybe even in that state, with that condition. So many of the doctors had only read about my condition in literature. And while they did many initial repairs, they weren't as successful. And I spent almost a month in the NICU after multiple unsuccessful surgeries, and finally one surgery that succeeded in giving me some state of stability. But, the doctors there really didn't know too much of what to do with me. And so my uncle, who was living in New York City at the time, had reached out to a doctor called Dr. Alberto Pena, who was in New York City at the time in LIJ, and an expert at the time in pediatric colorectal surgery. And so that really was what jump-started my life in being able to have my conditions taken care of. And when I was a year and a half, my mom and I flew to New York City. And almost immediately I got evaluated by Dr. Pena, and at the age of 2, he performed a 22-hour procedure on me, which was my longest surgery to date. But without it, I definitely would not have had the life I have today. But because I had so many issues that had to be surgically repaired, the doctors told my parents here that it would be detrimental to my health as well as futile to consistently be traveling from India to the US just for my surgeries. So my parents had to make the decision to stay with me in the US. And I think that was a tough decision for them because they had to leave behind all of their family in India. And when I think about it, I think that was really a great sacrifice that they made for me. And so at the age of 1.5, I became a permanent resident of the US, and that was 24 years ago. And since then, my life has certainly changed for the better. I've had over 30 procedures, surgeries, and same-day procedures all in one. And when it came to my childhood and growing up, people think, oh, Priyanka, you must have had such a rough childhood. Well, no, not really. I grew up as your typical New Jersey school kid. I never was taught to see myself as anything different than anyone else. My parents always said, okay, these are the cards you've been dealt in life. And what you choose to do with it, it's the only thing that makes a difference of whether you're going to be successful or not. So I was a straight A student. I was always participating in activities and sports, and in many ways my life was pretty much no different than anyone else's. I had friends, I had a younger sibling, I had family, and I went through a lot of difficult procedures medically, but I never saw that as something that could stop me from following my dreams and reaching my goals. One major procedure I had was when I was 16. I had a full bladder closure, And that really changed my life for the better, because almost a couple months after that closure, I got a acceptance letter to Bard College at Simon's Rock, which was an early college program up in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, that took students straight out of high school and put them into full-time college. And so at the age of 16, almost 17, I was your full-time college student. And so I got my associate's degree at 19, and then I transferred to Virginia Commonwealth University and got my bachelor's in psychology. And then later, I always knew I wanted to go into medicine, so I decided to get a master's in biomedical science from Geisinger Commonwealth School of Medicine. And now currently I am a student at New York College of Podiatric Medicine with goals of becoming a podiatric surgeon. Why podiatry? Well, I really believe that the feet and what being able to walk on 2 feet can really do for a person and help them really get back into their lives is just extremely important. And being able to be a part of that process and to repair individuals' feet, get them back into sports, get them back into living their everyday lives, is a really profound impact that I can have. And while life may always be full of ups and downs, I always try to look at what I can do to make things better for myself and someone else. And so I really look forward to the next few years in training of becoming a podiatric surgeon, and I hope also to one day become a motivational speaker. I think some of the challenges I've overcome in life, I can really help other kids, overcome challenges and figure out where they belong, what they want to do with their lives. A message I give out to everyone is most challenges are self-imposed. Most obstacles are really up here and not actually in front of you. And so a lot of times it's just really about mindset. And with that, I have always tried to keep an optimistic mindset, and I look forward to being a major player in the future in the surgery field and helping a lot of individuals. And that's my origin story.